Hi, so today we are going to talk about Python folder project architecture in a very simple and very elementary basic way, just how to call different functions and different parts of your code in other parts of your project. And I'm sorry if there is a background noise, it's in a room with an air system that is a bit noisy. Anyway, so I'm inside the folder here and I'm going to start writing some code. So just a very simple small size code. I'm not going to give a real scenario project because you don't need that to learn some basic stuff. You make a Python file, I call it let's say project.py. Let's say I want to work with polynomials of degree at most 2, so I define a class for them. Class, I call it poly, and then I define the initializer of the class, so underscore underscore init underscore underscore, and it takes some arguments, self. It has 3 parameters, the 3 coefficients of x square, x, and the constant. You don't need to worry about the math. And then okay, and I put the documentation. Well, in VS Code, it has these auto suggestions, and you can use tab on your keyboard to choose that auto suggestion to auto complete the line, or pressing enter. And I don't like pressing enter because I want to go to the next line. I mean, there should be some key to press and just not accepting any of this. I don't want to press space because then I have to press backspace to delete that extra space. I don't like extra spaces in my code, right? So I'm going to disable this. If you also have the same problem, then you can go to extensions, to the Python extension, and then the settings and extension settings. Then here search for accept, and you should see this one, editor colon accept suggestion on enter. It says in addition to tab. We already have tab for accepting the auto suggestion. Why should we also assign enter for that? So I choose off, and then I close these settings. Okay, now if I delete this, I press 3 apostrophe, then this has this auto suggestion, but when I press enter, it just goes to the next line without putting that. If I was putting enter in the previous case or pressing tab right now, it put that thing, which doesn't make sense for me, right? Okay, so what I want to write here is a class for polynomials of degree at most 2. Okay, and I close the documentation, and what it does, it just assign the 3 attributes, which are the 3 coefficients. Okay, so c equal to c, and that is the class. Now, some of you might be already familiar, but for those who are not familiar, there is also a method underscore underscore string underscore underscore self that you can define for your classes, so that if someone define an instance of this class, let's say p equal to poly of blah blah, then he can ask print on that. So seeing something to be sure that the object is defined properly or whatever. Or if they convert it to a string, what should they receive now? So I say return, and it should be a string. I define it by f string because I put the non-string parts inside the quotations of the string, but in curly brackets. So instead of writing self.a plus quotations something and then closing quotation plus something else and then plus quotation open quotation close, then I just open and close the quotation 1 times and use the curly brackets for the non-string parts. So I say self a, the coefficients of x squared, then times x squared, And now I should be careful. The coefficient of a square can be 0, then, well, you don't want to see this term, but as a lazy shortcut or solution, I just put parentheses around. So parentheses 0 times that, okay, right? Otherwise I have to put some if statement and etc. I'm not going to do that. Then parentheses self b coefficients of x times x plus curly brackets self c closing curly bracket parentheses. That is fine. Hopefully no mistake. And that is the class, right? And I just go back here. I don't need to look at the extension list. So how to use this? Well, you could write whatever you want to do with this inside the same file, right? Let's say I want to print polynomial with the coefficients 1, -2, and 1, and I save it. I could run it here, right? It's equivalent of going to your terminal, saying Python space, and then the directory of this file, then it run the whole thing, no? I press run here, so it works properly. 1 times x squared plus -2 times x plus 1. Now, what if you want to use it in a different place, okay? In a terminal, ideally, for example, right? You cannot just write these line here, and you are not going to write everything again. You write the code so that you can use it everywhere else that you want. So here, one way to use this file is to import sys, and then you say sys path append, and then you give the path to this folder as a string, not the file, but the folder containing the file. And this slash can be interpreted with the character after that. Like when you write slash lowercase n in a string, it is for going to the next line, no? But you want to avoid Python thinking this is something together, so you put 2 of them. That will be interpreted as 1, right? Okay, press enter. Now you can say import proj, and well, you import proj, it import the class and also whatever it says to do here. There is a way to avoid this being done automatically, but anyway, we are not going to talk about that one right now. So I restart the shell, I save this, I do the same thing, but I want to do it in one line, so I copy paste one thing, not 2 lines at the same again. Okay, now I say import proj, and I can use it as a general module, like the way you import time or import scipy, import anything else. So then I say print proj, from proj use poly 1 -2 1, right? It works fine. Or you could even do better, from proj import poly, so you don't need to write that proj behind poly every time. Okay. Now, your code is not only one class, right? You might also have some other functions that are using this class. Let's say def p add, which accept 2 polynomials p and q of the type class poly, and then I have a documentation adding 2 polynomials of degree is at most 2. Okay, so it define a new polynomial, poly, with the coefficients PA, coefficient of x squared in P, plus QA, that is the first coefficient for the new polynomial, PB plus QE, the second one, PC plus QC, the third one, and then we want to return this new polynomial, which is summation of those two polynomials. Right? Yes. Now again, if you want to use these things, you can write here, but it is not what you usually do, because your computation is one instant of the computation. You want to have this thing as a module, as a package, as a software, as an app that other people can use for their own examples, not for only one example you write here, right? So you save it, and then again you can import this file. Every Python file can be imported as a normal module. No? That is fine, right? But you are not going to write everything in one file. It can easily grow. You will get hundreds or thousands of lines. Then tracking things, finding bugs, and working with your project will be difficult. So what people do is that they put codes in different files. They partition them to different topics or different type of things like classes, some functions. So I will have a new file. Let's call it add.py. Then I will move this guy out and I put it in this one, right? But this file doesn't know what is poly because it's not in this file, no? So I have to tell him to read the other file. Because they are located in the same folder, I can easily call import and name of the other file, right? It recognizes it. Or better than that, from approach import poly. And you see that the VS Code automatically suggests like what Python is going to recognize. From approach, it recognizes there is something called poly. Anyway. Then poly is recognized and it works fine. I can, in this file, it recognizes everything. So I can say, for example, p equal to poly 1 minus 2, 1, and let's put them in one line thing. Q poly 1 to 1, and then I ask print p add p and q. I save it. If I run this one, it goes find poly from the other one when it needs. So it goes here, it goes to the other file, it reads it, it does whatever it should. For Q also the same. Then p add, it comes here. When it is doing this line, it goes right from there and puts things here and then returns everything, right? Okay. I run it and it works. 2x squared plus 0x plus 2, that is fine. But again, you are not going to do it here, right? So cut this guy, or let's keep it here because I want to copy paste it somewhere. Just comment it. You want to call it outside. Install the shell. Again, this. Now, what should I import? Should I import add or should I import approach? I know the answer, but let's experience it. So you may say, okay, I want to use p add, so I will just call add, and because there is a line from approach import poly, it should automatically go and read poly, and it should be fine with poly as well. No? So this line should be executable later. No? So I say import, or well, let's say import add, to be sure that everything in add is imported, right? And then I copy this line, and of course when I say, I didn't say import from that import poly or whatever, so you may say put add.poly, put add.poly. Will it work? Oh, it worked. But let's say if I had another file here, subtract or multiplication or something else, and they're calling poly, sure. If I call one of them here, then it will access poly as well, but it will not call p-add in the subtract, for example, or in the multiplication, or in finding the roots. Then I would not have access to p-add. Then I have to import several files, import this guy, import that guy. Then that would be a trouble. What people usually do is that they create a folder, a proj, and then you put these files inside that folder, and then they call the folder. That is correct. The folders are also callable, but they need something called __ init __ .py, and then I can call proj. This guy here, I put it here, and then I say import proj. You see that it is imported. You can also ask help on the proj. It says it contains two things. Now if I say help proj dot add dot p-add, it doesn't recognize it, okay? But if I say import add, well, after that I imported proj, well, okay, import proj dot add, well, it has a problem because what I wanted to do, let's update these things from. Now dot means the folder that this thing is there, and the folder this thing is there is proj, and then I say, okay, and also let's rename this with poly. Okay, let's poly import poly. Let's try first with this one. I wanted to add the dot, but let's see without dot it works or not. Shell, restart, then again this, and then port proj. Let's go for this. I think it will not work again, and remove this extra space. Will not work again, but can I say import add? Well, no, but I should be able to say import proj dot add. Okay, well, okay, then the problem was not the same, having the same name. The problem was from dot, which is the folder that containing this proj, then choose poly, from that import this. So I restart the shell and I do the same thing. Now import proj show and say import proj dot add. This time it's happy. I can say, now if I say help proj dot add dot p-add, choose the help. Just to be sure something. So if I, so that dot solve the problem. It's a relative path, by the way. I import approach. Before importing approach add, I guess this will not work. So yes, I was right. You can say help on approach dot add. No, you can't. You have to import it. So you have to import the submodules, let's say. So I should say import approach add. That is fine. Or I could say from approach import. Can I? No, I don't think I can say this. Well, I can say this. And then I say help pulley. Yes. But does it know pulley dot pulley? Yeah, it knows. Okay, yeah, so it's a bit tricky to remember a lot of the things. But right. You can call these things with like this, or from them, import them and then use them. One other thing that people do is that they don't want to have approach.pulley.pulley, approach.add.padd. They want everything in the sub files and sub folders being the immediate item inside the package approach. So you can call them approach.padd, approach.pulley, right? You might have like 3 subfolders, and then you don't want to say approach.something. So what you can do is to go to the init file of your approach, and then you say from dot, put the relative path, dot pulley, import pulley. And to make things more interesting, let's have better things. So I'm going to make subfolders for this one, and this is a common practice, by the way. You might want to have your classes in one folder and not inside this, inside approach, another folder tasks. There might be some folder for, you might put all graphical user interface stuff inside that, or the logic part inside something else, or the database management things inside another folder, right? And then I put add inside task, and I put this pulley inside classes. Okay. Now, of course, I have to update these. I can update here by editing it, but I write from beginning, so you see that how this could help you. So I put one dot is the folder that contains add tasks, and inside task there is only one thing, add. I put another dot to go one step even more back. It's the folder approach, and inside folder approach you have 2 things, classes and tasks. I choose classes. Sorry, I forgot that I disabled the enter, so I should use tab. Then inside that there is pulley, import pulley. Okay, so that this pulley is recognized here. And then here in the init file of the approach, I say from dot classes dot pulley import pulley. The next line, from dot tasks dot add import padd, and I save this. Now here I restart my shell again, and these guys paste here, I say import proj, I can say proj dot poly. So let's say p is proj dot poly instead of saying proj dot poly, right? Sorry, proj dot classes dot poly or saying from proj dot classes dot poly import poly, something like that. So I just say proj dot poly 1 minus 2 1 is fine. I say print p is totally fine, right? And I can also say print proj p add p and maybe with itself p and p, just add it to itself, then here's fine. So yes, that's the way you work. So you should use different files for different parts of your code, unless you have very few functions and classes and stuff, and they have very few lines and everything looks good inside one file. If not, you should put them in different files. And if the number of files also increase, it's not only number of lines that can increase, you might have hundreds of files. You don't want them to be in one folder. Then when you look at the folder, it may look very crowded. No, you want to put them in subfolders, and then you use the relative path to the main folder, which has an init.py, the places that you want to use sub. So it is calling a class from a file that is in a sibling folder or in a completely kinds of complicated relationship in the folder tree with respect to the main one. But you can call them, and then in the init file of your main package, you put them like this, or you can call them with one as a method, as a class of just name of that folder, right? Like what I did here. And then if one of these subfolders also has a package application to be called by itself alone, or kinds of like that, which are called sub-packages, then you can have init file for them too, but it's not mandatory to have init file for every subfolder, right? I hope it is clear. If my explanation was not clear, or I did some mistake at the middle of the explanation, or the sound is not clear, please write your questions in the comment below. I can quickly reply them. And if you got any error message, yes, sure, write them.